Elon Musk is not testifying. Do you think he should go and testify in front of the oversight committee? Because you're not answering the question about accountability. Who's at the helm here? As a member of the oversight committee, what are you going to do to make sure he's held accountable and to make sure that he's not abusing his power here? Can you move quickly? Because this is happening very fast. Can you do your job, your checks and balances job, as quickly as it is moving?
All right, folks, I want to show you here firsthand the utter incompetence of our elected officials. Particularly this Republican, Mike Turner from Ohio, who, as we'll see, instantly regretted his decision to go on CNN and get torn to shreds by Pamela Brown here for trying to defend the federal government handing over the keys to the kingdom, and specifically the Treasury Department, to an illegal alien turned billionaire turned private citizen, Elon Musk. Because quite frankly, folks, his response is so lackluster and shameful, it's hard to believe he's not on the Musk payroll. So here first is a brief recap of how Musk has been infiltrating the Treasury Department, and make sure you stick around to the end because there is a major update to this story I want to bring to light about a new lawsuit that is stemmed from Musk's actions here. And if you want to get in on a potential class action and aid the last legal defense against tyranny, you'll want to hear about it.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent reportedly granting Elon Musk's DOGE team access to the federal government's payment system, which handles trillions of dollars in payments. That move is ostensibly about rooting out government waste, but many are concerned about potential politically motivated meddling and the exposure of sensitive taxpayer information.
Right, so the guy whose fortune is built off the back of the federal government getting subsidies and government contracts now has access to tons of sensitive information via the Treasury's payment system. And as if that didn't spark enough confidence in you that there's no conflicts of interest or room for royally fucking this all up somehow, Elon Musk's unconstitutional takeover of our federal government is being facilitated by a team of little boys between the ages of 19 and 24 linked to Musk's other companies, and they are playing a key role as he seizes control of the federal infrastructure. And this Wired article is a great and damning read, so I'll drop the link down below if you want to take a look at it. Because trust me, it's worth it. This is just one of these goony goobers that are tinkering around in our federal payment system. Sure, great. But for time's sake, and with all of that we discussed in mind, let's get to the meat of this thing and watch Mike Turner just shrug this off like it's no big deal as he gets continuously pounded by Pamela Brown.
There are news reports that are based upon anecdotal stories of what is occurring or what Elon Musk is doing or has access to, as opposed to actually what.
But the White House has, the Treasury Department, the White House has confirmed, for example, at the Treasury payment system, they say, yeah, he has access, but it's view only. That's exactly. Not just like an anonymous sources.
Okay, but that comma, view only, that you just said happens to be the most incredible, important aspect, because when you report that he has access to it, it makes it sound like he has levers and dials and can pull and push, versus if someone's going to be making a recommendation, hold on a second, if somebody's going to be making a recommendation as to something that needs to be reformed, as to where there is fraud, having access, view only, is to be able to understand what is occurring. As opposed to some reports make it sound like he's sitting there, as the Wizard of Oz with controls and dials with the Treasury system,
clear,
which is
and the
completely
question
different.
I made clear it was view only, but as you well know, there are concerns among critics of this that why is this unelected person having access to all of this information about Americans' payments that they're receiving? And there's federal law, as you well know, that prohibits conflict of interest, prohibits employees from participating in matters that could affect their financial interests, government employees. In his dual role as special government employee, where is the accountability here?
These would be great questions in a functioning democracy or a reputable first world nation, but alas, America is not one of those things. Set aside the fact that she's asking about a private citizen having access to all of your payment information. We're also talking about other private citizens that are teenagers and 20-something-year-olds and are clearly sycophantic Musk frat bros. But Mikey Turner wants you to know it'll all be fine.
One thing that we know, our systems are out of control. Trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. There's fraud throughout the system, and we're trying to get a handle on this. And we need to find out, how can we control these systems, get control over the federal budget so that we can
But hold on. Let me just follow up, because you're not answering the question about accountability.
And this is where things get totally off the rails, as we'll see in just a moment. But it's so important to note here that this is just another example of right-wing mis- and disinformation by skewing the truth. I mean, just take a look at how this story about Musk getting access to the payment system is being reported on. It's a pretty even biased distribution here that we can obviously see slightly less reporting on the right, but then today we can see the usual suspects positioning DOGE's targeting of the Medicare agency as simply looking for fraud. And this analysis is all possible thanks to today's sponsor, Ground News, a website and app developed by a former NASA engineer on a mission to give readers an easy, data-driven, objective way to read the news. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of the political bias, factuality, and ownership of the source's reporting, all backed by ratings from 3 independent news monitoring organizations. And I've specifically found immense usefulness and often a little bit of humor out of the Ground News blind spot feature that highlights stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. And this is so important so we don't live in an echo chamber and get misled by subtle and sometimes not so subtle language in the news. So try out Ground News today by clicking the link on screen in the description or by scanning that QR code on the screen. And if you sign up through our link, you'll get 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what we at Really American use to get unlimited access to all features. By doing so, not only are you supporting the channel and Ground News' work, but also arming yourself with knowledge and information that is utterly crucial in today's news media landscape.
So again, okay. I believe there are checks and balances in place. It's not as if the bank vault door is open and Elon Musk is sitting in there as the Wizard of Oz. I truly believe there are checks and balances. I understand,
but I think there's still this big question of accountability, right? I think that Americans are looking at this and wondering, what is going on here? We didn't put this guy in charge, right? And it has a massive amount of power as the richest man in the world with all of this conflict of interest in front of the federal government. And we don't really have insight and a clear view of what is going on. And when you take a step back, I know you say that Congress is reviewing, but there are a lot of lawsuits because there's a lot of lawyers who are out there watching this saying laws are being broken and there is a disregard for this. Agencies like USAID, money appropriated by Congress just being, wiped away against the law. And as you well know, the framers created this system of government to have checks and balances. Article 1 of the Constitution makes the legislative branch a co-equal branch of government to the executive branch. Is the legislative branch ceding power here to the executive branch right now?
Well, you said a lot there, none of which yet has been determined.
What hasn't been determined of what I said?
Well, you said against the law. You actually are.
No, I said lawyers. I said lawyers have
argued that. I've argued that.
That there are laws that Congress made, and at least 4 lawsuits have been filed alleging that laws have been broken.
Regardless of where you are on all these issues, everyone understands that, one, financially, we cannot keep going in the direction that we are. This is going to be messy and sloppy and not pretty, but it's not going to be illegal, and it's not going to be it's going to be, in the end, the process that everyone wants, and that is, let's get this country back on track where we're living within our means, and that we have a system that financially protects our economy.
But you said move quickly, and I know we have to go, but can Congress move quickly enough to do the checks and balances that you were given the power to do and hold the certain people accountable? Can you move quickly? Because this is happening very fast. Can you do your job, your checks and balances job, as quickly as it is moving?
Absolutely, but we need the media to help us and make certain that you use those commas and explain actually what's happening.
We're sticking to the facts here on this show, and I'm very clear on the context.
If you don't explain what's happening, people believe that people are running amok in ways that they're not.
I understand your point, and your point is well taken. I've made very clear that I'm putting the important context and being factual, but even with the commas, people have a lot of questions.
Case in point, people try to put the blame on the media. It's a classic Republican trope, and claim that they're leaving out facts when you're straight up lying about your ability to stop Elon Musk from doing a hostile takeover of the federal government. It doesn't get any more pathetic than that. However, as I mentioned, there is one glimmer of hope, courtesy of reporting from Midas Touch, about the Trump administration being hit with a major lawsuit over Elon Musk's data breach. So let's end on a slightly positive note here.
The Trump administration was just hit with a massive lawsuit for giving Elon Musk access to the payment system used by the Treasury Department to make trillions of dollars in transactions. The lawsuit was filed under the Privacy Act of 1974, and essentially the lawsuit alleges by Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, giving Elon Musk and DOGE access to the payment system and thus all of people's private social security data, medical data, and other private information that constitutes a breach of the Privacy Act of 1974. In fact, the biggest, most egregious, unlawful breach in the history of the United States of America. The lawsuit calls for a number of things, which I'll go through, but it also calls for an injunction barring Elon Musk and DOGE from having access to this type of data, this type of material, or anything like it. Also, barring Elon Musk and DOGE from essentially going in and accessing the data again, and also returning all of the data, and then creating a mechanism to seal this data and wall it away from Elon Musk and DOGE or any other person who should not have access to this information.
Exactly. And regardless of which political side you are on, you should not want a billionaire, let alone anyone, to have your personal private information. And if that's something you agree with and you hope that this lawsuit goes through and works, consider dropping a like on the video, subscribing to the channel for more reporting on important stories like this. Join the resistance, help us get to 400,000 subscribers, and thank you all for watching as always. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you guys in the next one.